The massive space station Concordia Prime floated silently in the void between star systems, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of distant suns. Inside the Great Council chamber, representatives from 47 different alien species had gathered for what many believed would be the most important meeting in galactic history. Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony stood at the center of the circular chamber, their 6 legs clicking against the polished stone floor with each deliberate step. The insectoid creature's compound eyes surveyed the assembled delegates, taking in the nervous energy that filled the room like static electricity before a storm. The Zephyrian delegation huddled together, their blue-scaled forms whispering in harmonics too low for most species to hear. The rock-like granite lords sat motionless, as they had for the past 3 hours, their mineral bodies patient as mountains. Even the energy beings from the Spiral Nebula had taken solid form for this occasion, their usually shifting shapes locked into humanoid silhouettes that flickered with barely contained power. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Veltar began, their voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic design. We have tolerated the human presence for 3 millennia. We have honored the ancient treaties. We have allowed them to expand to dozens of worlds across the Rim territories. A ripple of unease passed through the assembled delegates. The human question had been debated for generations, but few had expected it to come to this. But no longer, Veltar continued, their mandibles clicking with growing authority. These creatures are unpredictable. They spread like a virus across space, taking worlds that should belong to more established civilizations. They refuse to follow proper galactic protocols. They make jokes during serious diplomatic meetings. Several delegates nodded in agreement. The humans were indeed strange, even by galactic standards. Therefore, Veltar raised all 4 of their arms dramatically. The Galactic Council hereby dissolves all treaties with the human species. As of this moment, we declare a state of war. The chamber exploded into chaos. The crystalline choir began harmonizing their distress in notes that made the station's hull vibrate. The void swimmers flickered in and out of visible space in agitation. The massive Titan delegate accidentally crushed their chair while standing up in shock. On the far side of the galaxy, on a small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star, President Kim Hyun was having his morning coffee when his aide rushed into the office. "Sir, urgent message from the Galactic Council," the aide said, placing a small device on the president's desk. Kim Hyun activated the message, watching as Veltar's holographic image appeared and delivered the declaration of war. He listened carefully, his expression unchanging. When the message ended, he read it again to make sure he had understood correctly. Then he burst into laughter. The sound echoed through the Situation Room, causing his advisors to look at each other with confusion. Kim Hyun laughed until tears ran down his face, doubling over in his chair as wave after wave of mirth overtook him. "Sir?" his aide asked carefully. "Should we prepare for military action?" Kim Hyun wiped his eyes and looked at the confused faces around him. "Send this to the media immediately," he said, still chuckling. "The people need to see this." Within an hour, the alien declaration of war had spread across every human communication network. The reaction was not what the Galactic Council had expected. Instead of panic or fear, humans everywhere responded with amusement. On New Tokyo, a massive crowd gathered in the central plaza to watch the alien announcement on the giant screens. When Veltar finished speaking, the entire crowd burst into applause and laughter. Someone started a chant of "space bugs." Space bugs, that spread through the city. The stock markets on Earth, Mars, and Europa all showed significant gains as investors bet on human defense contractors and entertainment companies. Betting pools opened across human space, with odds heavily favoring a quick human victory. On social media, the aliens were immediately nicknamed Angry Space Lobsters, and memes spread faster than light communication could carry them. One popular image showed Veltar with the caption, "When you try to start a war but humans just laugh at you." Commander Park Jae stood in the observation deck of Lunar Base, looking out at Earth through the transparent aluminum windows. He had been monitoring alien communications for years, and he knew something the Galactic Council did not. The sleeping giant was about to wake up. His communication device buzzed with an encrypted message from deep space. Park Jae read it quickly, then smiled. The automated systems were already responding to the declaration of war. Ancient protocols that had waited 3,000 years for activation were finally coming online. "Commander," his aide approached carefully. "Orders from Earth Command. We're to begin Phase 1 of the awakening sequence." Park Jae nodded, still watching Earth turn slowly in the void. The aliens thought they knew what humanity was capable of based on their small colonies and merchant ships. They had no idea what was hidden in the dark spaces between the stars, waiting patiently for this moment. The war the Galactic Council thought they were starting was about to become something entirely different. As the first hidden shipyards began to power up their reactors after millennia of silence, Park Jae whispered to himself, "They have no idea what they just woke up. The galaxy would never be the same." 500 kilometers beneath the surface of Luna, in chambers carved from solid rock 3,000 years ago, something that had been sleeping for millennia began to stir. The first sign was a single red light that flickered to life in the darkness, followed by another, then thousands more as ancient systems responded to signals they had waited eons to receive. Admiral Lee Minute walked through corridors that few humans alive had ever seen. The walls hummed with power as generators that had been dormant since before the Galactic Council even existed began their startup sequences. His footsteps echoed in the vast spaces, each room larger than most space stations, filled with technology that would make the galaxy's greatest scientists weep with wonder. "Status report," Lee Minute said as he entered the primary command center, a spherical room where holographic displays showed star maps spanning half the galaxy. Captain Choi Dae-bin looked up from her control station, her fingers dancing across interfaces that appeared made of pure light. "Awakening sequence is proceeding normally, sir. We have positive responses from 87% of our hidden installations." The displays around them showed the truth that the aliens had never suspected. What they saw as humanity's territory was merely the tip of an iceberg so vast it defied comprehension. Hidden bases nestled in asteroid belts, mobile cities that drifted through empty space disguised as space debris, and installations built inside gas giants where no alien had thought to look. 3,000 years, Lee Minute murmured, watching as installation after installation reported ready status. 3,000 years they thought they had us contained in a few dozen systems. Captain Choi nodded, understanding the weight of those words. The peace treaty had not been forced upon humanity by superior alien technology or military might. It had been humanity's choice, a voluntary retreat from the galaxy while they developed in secret. "Show me the outer ring installations," Lee Minute commanded. The displays shifted, revealing structures that orbited dead stars in the galaxy's outer reaches. Ring worlds that could house billions of people, their surfaces covered in cities and forests, all powered by the energy of dying suns. These massive structures had been built in complete secrecy, using technologies that bent space and time to hide their construction from alien sensors. "Outer Ring reports full operational status," Captain Choi announced. "Population stands at 47 billion across all installations." Lee Minute smiled grimly. The aliens thought humanity numbered perhaps 20 billion souls scattered across their known colonies. They had no idea that the real human population was nearly 10 times larger, hidden in places where alien scanners could never detect them. Dr. Song Ha-won entered the command center, her white hair floating slightly in the low gravity. She had been one of the architects of humanity's great concealment, spending her entire career developing the technologies that kept their true civilization hidden. "Admiral," she said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what was happening. "The dimensional shipyards are coming online. The mobile cities are beginning their translation back to normal space." "How long until full deployment?" Lee Minute asked. 6 hours for complete fleet activation. 12 hours for all installations to reach combat readiness." The Admiral nodded. Around them, the displays showed thousands of ships that had been waiting in dimensional pockets, their crews in suspended animation, ready to emerge when called. These were not the small patrol vessels and merchant ships the aliens had observed. These were warships designed with 3 millennia of advanced human engineering, weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. "Sir," Captain Choi called out, "we're receiving awakening confirmations from the asteroid belt installations." The display shifted again, showing what appeared to be ordinary asteroids tumbling through space. But as they watched, the rocky exteriors began to split open like flowers blooming, revealing massive shipyards hidden within. Ships that had been under construction for centuries began their final assembly, automated systems working with perfect precision to complete vessels of incredible complexity. "The Genesis Project installations are responding as well," Dr. Song reported. "All 17 artificial worlds report successful awakening." Lee Minute allowed himself a moment of pride. The Genesis Project had been humanity's most ambitious undertaking during the long peace. Entire worlds, built from scratch in hidden locations, designed to be completely self-sufficient and invisible to alien detection. Each one could support millions of humans and served as both refuge and fortress. "What about the deep space platforms?" he asked. "Operation Dark Forest is proceeding normally," Captain Choi replied. All platforms have begun their approach to predetermined positions. The deep forest platforms were perhaps humanity's most audacious creation. Massive installations that had spent 3,000 years slowly drifting through the void between galaxies, powered by technologies that harvested energy from the quantum vacuum itself. They were now beginning their journey home, carrying weapons and technologies that could reshape the very nature of space and time. "Admiral," Dr. Song said quietly, "perhaps now you can tell me, why did we really go into hiding? It wasn't just to develop technology, was it?" Lee Minute was quiet for a long moment, watching the displays show humanity's true might awakening across the galaxy. "No," he said finally. "We went into hiding because we discovered something that terrified us. We learned what we were capable of becoming. And now the galaxy will learn too," Lee Minute replied. "The aliens have just reminded us why we chose to sleep. They've forgotten that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that chooses not to hunt." Captain Choi looked up from her stations. "All systems responding, Admiral. The fleet is ready." The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Ketmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Death's Thunder watching the stars bend and twist as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Around him, 10,000 hegemony warships materialized in perfect formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. "Target acquired," his tactical officer reported, their scaled hands dancing over control panels. "New Geneva system directly ahead. Human defensive positions, minimal, sir." Ketmore's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Intelligence reports had indicated that New Geneva was one of humanity's most important colonies, home to over 4 billion humans and their primary shipbuilding facilities. Taking it would be a crushing blow to human morale and demonstrate the hegemony's superiority. "Prepare for planetary bombardment," he ordered. "We will make an example of this world." But as the fleet moved forward, something was wrong. The sensors showed empty space where New Geneva should have been. No planet. No orbital stations. No defensive fleets. Just empty darkness punctuated by distant stars. "Tactical, report," Ketmore demanded, his confidence beginning to waver. "Sir, sensors show no planetary body in the expected location. No debris field. No signs of recent destruction. It's as if the entire system simply vanished." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Ketmore had conquered 17 worlds in his military career, but he had never encountered anything like this. Planets did not simply disappear. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from a single vessel approaching our position." On the main screen, a small ship appeared. It was sleek and white, clearly of human design, but unlike any warship in their databases. Elegant curves replaced angular armor plating, and it moved with a grace that seemed almost alive. "This is the diplomatic vessel *friendly chat*, came a cheerful human voice. "I'm Captain Nam Sujin. Can I help you find something?" The human woman appeared on screen, sitting comfortably in what looked more like a living room than a military bridge. She had short black hair and was smiling as if she had just encountered old friends rather than an invasion fleet. Ketmore stared at her in disbelief. "Human? Where is New Geneva? What have you done with the planet?" Captain Nam tilted her head thoughtfully. "New Geneva? Oh, they are fine. Would you like to see them?" Before Ketmore could respond, holographic displays materialized around the human captain, showing impossible views of a thriving world. Cities sparkled under alien suns, children played in parks, and massive shipyards continued their work as if nothing had happened. But the most shocking part was that the inhabitants seemed to be watching the alien fleet with curiosity rather than fear. "Impossible." Ketmore snarled, his forearms gesturing wildly. "You cannot move planets. Our science proves it cannot be done." Captain Nam shrugged casually. "We had 3,000 years to practice. Lots of time to figure out new tricks." Behind her, one of the holographic displays zoomed in to show a group of human children waving at what appeared to be a viewing screen. They held up a banner that read "Hello Space Visitors," in several languages, including what looked like hegemony script. "Where are they?" Ketmore demanded. "Safe," Captain Nam replied simply. "In a place where they can continue their lives without interruption from uninvited guests." The Admiral's tactical officer leaned over to whisper urgent reports. "Sir, our deep scans confirm it. There's no planetary body anywhere in this system. No gravitational signatures, no stellar debris. It's as if 4 billion people and an entire world just stepped out of reality." Ketmore felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare, genuine confusion. His species had mastered faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and planetary conquest. But this was beyond anything in their understanding of physics. "This is a trick," he shouted at the screen. "Humans cannot possess such technology." Captain Nam's expression remained pleasant, but her eyes showed a hint of something deeper. "Admiral Ketmore, isn't it? Your reputation precedes you. 17 conquered worlds, if I recall correctly." The fact that she knew his name and history sent a chill through the bridge crew. Human intelligence was supposed to be limited to their small colonial territories. "How do you know that?" Ketmore asked. "We know lots of things," Captain Nam replied. "For instance, we know you were planning to use this victory to claim leadership of the Hegemony Military Council. We know about the political struggles in your home system. We even know about your collection of ancient Terran music." Ketmore's 4 eyes widened in shock. His private collection of primitive human music was a closely guarded secret, something that could ruin his reputation if discovered by his superiors. Growing desperate and angry, Ketmore made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "All ships, open fire. Destroy that vessel." "Sir," Captain Nam said sadly, "that was unnecessarily rude." 10,000 plasma cannons fired simultaneously, their brilliant beams converging on the small diplomatic ship. The space around *friendly chat * lit up like a miniature star as enough energy to destroy a moon struck the vessel. When the light faded, the ship remained exactly where it had been, completely undamaged. Not even its paint was scorched. "Fascinating," Captain Nam observed, checking readings on her displays. "Your plasma technology is quite advanced. About 700 years behind ours, but still impressive." Ketmore stared in horror as his most powerful weapons proved completely ineffective. "What are you?" Captain Nam smiled sadly. "We're what you forced us to become, Admiral. We're what happens when you tell humanity to stay hidden for 3,000 years." The war had begun, but already Ketmore suspected it would not end as he had planned. The war spread across 17 sectors of space like wildfire, but it was unlike any conflict the galaxy had ever witnessed. In the Kepler sector, Commander Ko Jinwoo's fleet materialized behind a massive hegemony battle group, appearing from what seemed like empty space. The alien ships spun in confusion, their sensors unable to track vessels that existed partially outside normal reality. "Enemy fleet detected," Ko Jinwoo announced calmly over open communications. "Recommend immediate retreat for your own safety." The hegemony commander, Admiral Thexkar, laughed through his communicator. "Foolish humans. We outnumber you 50 to 1. Ko Jinwoo sighed. "Very well. Please observe." His ships began to phase in and out of existence, moving through dimensions that alien science insisted were impossible to navigate. One moment they were solid vessels firing precisely targeted energy beams, the next they were ghostly images that enemy weapons passed through harmlessly. The hegemony fleet found themselves shooting at shadows while very real human weapons struck them from angles that should not have existed. Within 20 minutes, half the alien fleet was disabled. The other half was too confused to fight effectively. "Would you like to surrender now?" Ko Jinwoo asked politely. "We have medical teams standing by to assist with your wounded." 3 sectors away, Captain Yoon Sua was demonstrating humanity's mastery over physics in an entirely different way. Her small squadron faced a Granite Lord Fortress fleet, massive stone vessels that had been considered nearly indestructible for centuries. "Captain," her tactical officer reported, "the enemy is positioning for siege warfare. They're confident their armor can withstand our weapons." Yoon Sua nodded thoughtfully. "Let's show them what we learned about kinetic energy." She gestured to her science officer, who began calculating trajectories with impossible precision. Nearby asteroids, some no larger than buildings, began moving with purpose. Human technology reached out across millions of kilometers, gently nudging space rocks into carefully planned orbits. "What are they doing?" the Granite Lord Commander wondered aloud, watching the seemingly random asteroid movements. 15 minutes later, he had his answer. The asteroid struck his fortress ships with the force of small moons, but with surgical precision that disabled weapons and engines while leaving life support intact. Each impact had been calculated to minimize casualties while maximizing tactical advantage. "Impressive," Yoon Sua commented. "Your armor held better than expected. Would you like technical specifications for improvements?" In another sector entirely, Lieutenant Kang Minute-ho was giving alien physicists nightmares. His single vessel faced an entire Zephyrian science fleet, Ships equipped with sensors capable of detecting quantum fluctuations across light years. Human vessel, the Zephyrian Fleet Commander transmitted, our instruments show impossible readings. What technology are you using? Kang Minute-Ho smiled. Gravity manipulation, mostly. We learned to bend space-time about 2,000 years ago. Would you like a demonstration? Before the aliens could respond, their fleet found itself caught in gravitational fields that moved like living things. Ships were gently but inexorably pulled into formation, their weapons pointing harmlessly into empty space. The Zephyrians, masters of sensor technology, watched their instruments register phenomena that violated everything they thought they knew about physics. This is impossible, the fleet commander whispered. That's what we used to think too, Kang Minute-Ho replied cheerfully. But we had lots of time to experiment. But across all these battlefields, humanity's most devastating weapon was not their impossible technology. It was something far more psychologically damaging to their enemies. Captain Bae Young-sik demonstrated this perfectly during the Battle of Proxima Station. Facing a proud hegemony admiral known for his tactical brilliance, Bae opened communications mid-battle with helpful advice. Admiral Korthak, he said pleasantly, you might want to adjust your formation. Your flanks are exposed to dimensional shearing. What nonsense are you speaking, human? Korthak snarled. Well, Bae explained patiently, when you position your heavy cruisers in that configuration while we're using phase shift tactics, it creates vulnerabilities in these specific areas. He highlighted the weaknesses on a tactical display that somehow appeared on Korthak's own bridge screens. I will not take tactical advice from my enemy. Of course not, Bae agreed. But perhaps you'd like to see what happens when those vulnerabilities are exploited. He proceeded to demonstrate, dismantling Korthak's carefully planned formation with surgical precision while explaining each move like a teacher instructing a student. The psychological impact was devastating. Admiral Korthak, who had won dozens of battles through tactical superiority, found himself being given a lecture on military strategy while his fleet was systematically defeated. After battles ended, the real psychological warfare began. Captain Lim Ji-hai became famous throughout alien military circles for her post-battle care packages. After capturing an entire hegemony battle group, she sent fruit baskets to the detained alien officers, along with detailed tactical manuals. I've included notes on where your battle plan went wrong, she explained in a cheerful video message. Page 47 has some suggestions for better sensor coordination, and page 62 covers advanced formation flying. I hope this helps with your next engagement. The manuals were professionally printed, well illustrated, and genuinely helpful. They were also profoundly humiliating for military officers who prided themselves on their tactical expertise. Word spread through alien military channels about the humans who fought like teachers, offering helpful advice even while destroying their enemies. Hegemony warriors began developing what human psychologists clinically termed cosmic performance anxiety. Entire fleets started surrendering not because they were beaten, but because they could not bear the embarrassment of receiving encouraging feedback from opponents who treated warfare like an educational exercise. Perhaps we should reconsider this war, one hegemony admiral suggested after his third defeat, clutching a human-made tactical improvement guide. The galaxy was learning that there were worse things than being conquered. Sometimes, being taught was far more devastating to one's pride. The combined fleets of the Galactic Council hung in space above Earth like a dark cloud, thousands upon thousands of warships from every major species in the galaxy. They had come for the final battle, expecting to face desperate human defenders around their home world. Instead, they found something that defied all understanding. Earth was surrounded by structures that seemed to bend reality itself. Massive rings of unknown metal orbited the planet at impossible angles, intersecting through dimensions that should not exist. Ships moved between layers of spacetime as easily as fish swimming through water. The very fabric of space around the human home world rippled and flowed like liquid. Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, their compound eyes struggling to process what their senses reported. The readings made no sense. The humans had turned their entire solar system into something that violated every law of physics the galaxy understood. How? Veltar whispered, watching human vessels the size of small moons phase in and out of visible reality. How is any of this possible? President Kim Hyun appeared on the communication screen, sitting calmly in what looked like an ordinary office. Behind him, through a window, Earth turned peacefully in space, looking exactly as it had for millennia despite the impossible structures surrounding it. Ambassador Veltar, Kim Hyun said with a slight smile. Welcome to Earth. I believe you wanted to discuss the terms of our surrender. Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. Surrender? But this is impossible. Our combined fleets number over 100,000 ships. Yes, Kim Hyun agreed. Quite impressive. Would you like some tea while we talk? Admiral Ketmore's voice cut across the communication channel from his flagship. Enough games, human. We demand your immediate surrender. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Kim Hyun looked genuinely puzzled. Outgunned? Oh, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The space around the alien fleet suddenly filled with human vessels. Not dozens or hundreds, but hundreds of thousands of ships, appearing from dimensional pockets and hidden bases throughout the solar system. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had ever built. But that was not the most shocking revelation. As the human fleet materialized, the aliens realized that every human ship was operating on technologies that their best scientists had declared impossible. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Weapons that could reach across space and time. Defensive systems that made attacking them pointless. You weren't contained, Veltar said slowly, the truth finally dawning. You were protecting us. Kim Hyun nodded gravely. Power without wisdom is dangerous, Ambassador. We learned that lesson very early in our development. When we discovered technologies that could reshape reality itself, we faced a choice. We could use them to dominate the galaxy, or we could wait until the galaxy was ready to handle such power responsibly. Admiral Lee Min's image appeared alongside the president. The elderly military commander looked tired but satisfied. You passed the test, he told the assembled alien fleets. You recognized your own mistakes. You learned to laugh at yourselves when we showed you better ways to do things. That's what we were waiting for. On screens throughout the alien fleets, footage played of the recent battles. But now the aliens could see what had really been happening. Every human victory had been designed not to humiliate or destroy, but to teach. Every tactical suggestion had been a lesson in military strategy. Every care package after battle had been an attempt to help former enemies improve. The war, Veltar realized, was an examination. Dr. Song Hwan appeared on another communication channel from her laboratory. Around her, impossible machinery hummed with energies that could remake matter at the atomic level. Not just an examination, she said kindly. A final test to see if you were ready to join us as true partners rather than subjects to be protected. Captain Nam Soo-jin's cheerful face appeared on yet another screen. Behind her, alien engineers were working alongside human scientists, their minds stretching to grasp concepts that had taken humanity centuries to develop. Former hegemony warriors sat in classrooms, learning physics that their species had never dreamed possible. The beautiful thing, Nam Soo-jin said, is that you're all such quick learners. It took us 3,000 years to develop these technologies in secret. You're grasping the basics in weeks. Throughout the alien fleets, a profound shift was taking place. The proud warriors who had come to conquer Earth were beginning to understand that they had stumbled into something far greater than war. They had discovered a species that had evolved beyond the need for domination, beyond the desire for conquest. Ambassador Veltar made a decision that would reshape galactic civilization. Speaking for the entire Galactic Council, they formally issued an invitation that had never been given before. Humanity, Veltar said, their voice carrying across all communication channels, the Galactic Council formally requests that you join us not as members, but as guides. We need teachers, not conquerors. President Kim Hyun smiled. Would be honored to help. But understand, this means the real work is just beginning. We have technologies that can solve poverty, disease, and resource scarcity across the galaxy. But they require wisdom to use properly. As human ships began sharing their impossible technologies with former enemies, as alien scientists started learning to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality, the galaxy prepared for an age unlike any in its history. The 3,000-year truce had not ended after all. It had simply evolved into something far more beautiful, a partnership between species who had learned that the greatest strength was knowing when not to use it. The war was over. The real adventure was about to begin.